Hello again. I'm Dan. Welcome back to Vinyl Fury. Still here and still have some records to show. So let's get into it. The first one is the second album and fairly recent release, Phoebe Bridgers. This is Punisher, and it's excellent. I really enjoyed it. It's everything that's great about her debut and more. Um, a lot of layers. It's very heartfelt, very intentional, and very well done. And a large booklet with all the lyrics and some special artwork to accompany songs. Originally, I got I believe it's the record store exclusive red vinyl. It's kind of a Merlot. And it the copy itself was a bit warped, but plus there's quite a bit of surface noise, which I kind of expected, so I opted to get the black version, which is this, which was better. And this was also kind of an experiment for me because I've talked about quite a bit about new music on vinyl, new releases, and prices, and why, you know. So I decided to get the record and also get it on CD and really use it to decide, is it worth it to keep doing this? And I want music to sound better on vinyl. I want it to be worth it to spend the extra $10, $15 sometimes. And unfortunately, for the most part, this just shows me that it isn't. I was talking about the last Deftones record. It did sound to me a bit better, but still, that record was 4 times as much as it would be on CD. That copy in particular, at least. And, it's really just not worth it. It does sound good on vinyl, but there's some very quiet moments, and surface noise can be intrusive depending on how good the pressing is. A record like this, just overall, it's probably better on CD or a high quality digital version. So, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna ever buy new music on vinyl, but this just goes to affirm that stance that for the most part it's just not worth it. Uh, I'd rather have more music than just spend so much on one thing. I can get 2 or 3 CDs for the price of a new record. Or, as I'll show soon, getting something like a tape, and that's much cheaper. You could buy the tape and the digital download separately for the same price. There's just other options, and vinyl isn't always the best. It's not always necessary to do. As much as I love it, it's high time to accept that. But again, really love the new Phoebe Bridgers. I like her very much. So I guess the theme of this video is kind of sad music. This is Jackson C. Frank. So I recently watched this documentary about a record store called Other Music in New York City, which was closing down. And it had been around for a long time. It was a staple of the music scene in the city. And one of the people was talking about a record that meant a lot to him, and that really affected him immediately upon hearing it, and that was this one. And there's a long, sad story for Jackson, from his childhood, and maybe you're familiar with that, or you can look into it. This is his only record. It came out in 1965, and it was produced by Paul Simon in the UK, and I think it only came out in the UK initially. And this is a reissue on Sanctuary from a couple years back. And it's got a nice tip-on style jacket, a nice replica of what it might have been back then. And I believe it's pressed at RTI. And it sounds great. It was like $26, but in this case, I felt it was worth it. It sounds great. And I knew I'd heard his name, and the song that they played in that documentary, Blues Run the Game, did sound a little bit familiar. And it's because Nick Drake played that on one of his home recordings, which showed up on the Family Tree album. Jackson, it seems, was an influence on Nick Drake, and you can definitely hear that. It's all acoustic guitar and folk style, and he has an excellent playing, finger picking style. Very good voice. Definitely, to me, has a very similar vibe to Nick Drake, but even a little more tinged on kind of a folksy blues style. But there's actually quite a variance in the tone of the songs, and I enjoyed them all. So much so that I actually got it on CD as well. This is a reissue from 2001 and has 5 extra songs. Plus, there's what's called a complete collection available from, I think, Bada Bing Records. It's like 3 volumes of some recordings subsequent to this, some demos, some John Peel sessions, and some from even later in his life before he passed away in the 90s. But again, this is his only record, and I really enjoyed it. This is a new classic for me, and I'm really glad I was able to discover it. And lastly, another edition from Red House Painters. I believe this one's called Bridge. There's several of these that are self-titled, but they're referred to by a nickname relative to the cover. This one only has 8 songs, but I really enjoyed listening to it. It's another great reissue from 4AD. And I think this makes 4 albums of theirs that I have on vinyl. I think there's maybe 2 more to complete a collection. But I really enjoyed listening to it. I thought it sounded pretty good on vinyl and was worth picking up. So another Red House Painters album in the collection. I love their music. All right, so just another 3 for this video, and I think I'll make at least one more while I'm set up here. So again, I will talk to you pretty soon. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your music.